Good afternoon. How y'all doing? So guys, believe it or not, we're still in the first 100 days. Right? So this is all being done. Like, see, this is 1933. Okay, so Roosevelt takes office March 4th, 33. It's elected in 32. Okay, and they go to work. And so to this point, we've got the FDIC, the SEC, the Emergency Banking Act. We've got CCC, and now the TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority, which, by the way, is still around today. Okay? The Tennessee Valley Authority is meant to try and help a very economically depressed area of the United States. This region otherwise is generally known as Appalachia. You've all heard of the Appalachian Mountains. But this region, if you look at the map here, it may be kind of hard to see. You've got North Alabama, Tennessee, North Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, up Kentucky, up into West Virginia. This area is mountainous, it's hilly, a lot of trees, and there's not much industry there. So there's not a lot of economic development, and it's hard to farm there, okay, because of the weather or the conditions of the soil and just the mountain hilly terrain, okay? Now, so the Roosevelt administration and Congress decide to establish the TVA. And what they're going to do here, guys, is build a whole bunch of dams. Now, I know it's hard to see from back there, but everywhere you see a word or words on here, these are dams that are created here, okay? And when you build a dam, what do you get?
Electricity. A lake.
You're going to get a lake, more properly known as a reservoir. It's a man-made lake, okay? And if you put hydroelectric turbines in there, you can get hydroelectric power. Is that bothering you?
No, I was just here's worse. It is okay.
Yeah, why are you playing?
It almost sounded like the Hobbit music.
It is. Or Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Is it bothering you?
No.
I'll turn it off.
No, I like it.
It's a part of his study.
It doesn't work as well with the
You have a
English kids.
study?
He did say that. Yeah, he talked about it in third hour.
I did a study.
Are you doing it again?
No, just playing it because I was learning business law this morning, and I played this.
You were learning business law?
Yeah, so I could teach it third hour.
Yeah, he learns with us.
I read it first. And that was the second time I read it. Yeah,
There's been a few times where he says, honestly, I didn't know this.
yeah, I know that. Yeah, I'm not afraid to say that. Okay, but I do know this, that they built a bunch of damn dams, okay? Now, when you build a reservoir, okay, what happens to the property value around the reservoir? It goes up because people like to live near the water, okay? Now, what you also get, what do people do on that reservoir?
Fish.
Fish, boat, ski, recreational activities, camping, and so forth. Yes, swimming. Yes? Is that help with the economic activity of that region?
Yes.
Absolutely. Houseboats. We'll do boat rentals. Okay? In fact, Lake Cumberland, which is one of these down here in Kentucky, there's a man-made lake. When I was a kid, we rented a houseboat on Lake Cumberland for a week. Okay? It's fun. Okay? You guys know what a houseboat is?
Yeah.
Okay.
House.
Did it have a slide on it?
You had a slide?
Or is it a boat?
Yes.
That's
Good
a
time.
house.
Okay? Now, pretty boring lake. You know, it's But anyhow, now this does several things. Not just these dams can help, control rivers, right, and control dams, which can be deadly and destroy property. Okay, you get cheap, clean hydroelectric power. Okay, recreation, property values increasing, and with that reservoir, you also can use that water for different things. Like what? Where do we get our drinking water for Wichita? Cheney Reservoir. Okay, some of it's groundwater. Okay. Now, what else can you besides drink that water? You can use that water for what?
Showering, cooking.
Farming. Okay, so that would be referred to as irrigation. Okay, so this is I think a pretty good idea. Now, some people don't like dams because they're unnatural. They upset the original ecosystem. Yes, which can be harmful to wildlife.
They got the little fish ladders.
We talked about that, right? The salmon.
Yeah, the fish ladders.
Salmon cannon. We haven't talked about salmon cannon?
Are those the same things where the fish jump up and then they can take a little break and then they jump up?
No, these are better.
Well, these are good. These things are good.
Now, that's in the Northwest. Salmon are only in the Northwest. Okay? In other parts of the country, they don't have salmon. Okay? But dams do prevent fish from swimming upstream. Okay? They can only go one way, downstream. Okay? Now, in the Northwest, that is a problem, but the ecology. So in the Northwest, there is this worry about salmon, which you guys know, if you know anything about salmon. They got to swim upstream to lay their eggs, yes. Okay? And if there's a dam in the way, you can't get upstream. Right? Damn it.
You never heard of the little, it's like there's steps. And
I understand.
Mr. Kenton showed this.
But this is better.
Well, this is morally better.
Wait, is it actually gonna blast it over there? Oh my gosh.
Hey, what are you doing?
Looking at salmon cans.
I got it right here. I know he's a fool.
Salmon famously have to fight their way upstream to spawn, but thanks to hydroelectric dams, that's become increasingly difficult. But don't worry, because as we found out recently, America is on it.
I'm Ben Tracy in Washington State, where we're going to introduce you to a pretty sweet piece of technology known as the salmon cable. That's coming up on CBS this morning.
Sometimes people say the news has lost its touch, but every now and then they f***ing nail it. Because a cannon that fires fish through a tube and over a dam is absolutely incredible. And if you're wondering what it looks like when they come out the other side, the company that makes it, incidentally called Whoosh Innovations, has produced a spectacular slow-motion video set to classical music.
Why are they the right way?
In your darkest moments of despair, when you see a world torn apart by war, I want you to remember that video and think, we can do great things. We can do great.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, this it does exist, right? And they have ladders and so forth for salmon that they can get over these dams. Okay, but generally, there's a lot of progress here. Okay, with this part of the country. Okay, it's gonna help an economically depressed area. And as I said, the TVA is still around today, helping to manage these dams and so forth. Okay, now another thing they did to help with the farming was they took an some old munitions factories from World War I. They used to, build bombs there. And they transitioned these into fertilizer factories, okay? So the government now is getting into the business of fertilizer. Now, if you are a private fertilizer company and the government comes along and converts an old World War I munitions plant into a major fertilizer supplier, how are you going to compete with the federal government? You're a fertilizer company.
I'm a government
You're not going to compete with that.
or government contract.
Okay. And then some people that had like coal mines and so forth were upset that the government was producing this cheap hydroelectric power, okay, which was cutting into their profits. So some people, like this, didn't, okay? And those that felt like the government was taking over the economy might have complained that the government was competing unfairly and Roosevelt is a dictator. Okay. All right, so TVA. One of the other major problems that need to be confronted, again, this is in the first 100 days, is the housing crisis, like homelessness, yes, that we saw under Hoover. Okay, people losing their homes. And so the next slide, when we're ready, we're going to talk about housing. Now, from what I understand from other classes, do you ever remember studying this last year?
Iowa.
Imperialism.
I.
This is an aerial
Indiana.
drawing. So you're looking at it from above. And these are apartments
Oh.
called dumbbell houses. You
Oh,
like a
I
dumbbell?
remember that. I remember that.
You remember that?
I remember that. Ferris talked about it. Yeah.
Yes,
It was in
thank
New
you.
York.
Yes, in New York.
Oh, and all the trash we pile.
Yeah. In here, the courtyard.
Yeah.
Fires.
And people would like hang clothes and
Yeah,
stuff.
Oh, wait, I do remember that.
I don't remember. I just remember dumbbell.
Were fires at
Oh.
Yeah, it was like super cheap housing.
Yeah, super cheap housing for people that worked in factories and stuff like that. Okay? Yeah. Well, guys, terrible living conditions. These became the slums. Okay?
Oh, I remember that.
Okay, good. Yeah, all right. Good for
Yes,
Mr.
we
Ferris.
remember the slums.
All right? Bad on you if you don't remember. Okay, so the Homeowners Loan Corporation is created. And this is to issue $20 billion in bonds to raise money to help people refinance their mortgages. Now, if you recall, as we've been talking about this currency crisis, moving off the gold standard, printing all this money, right? You got to get into people's hands, so you lower interest rates, right? And so the banks borrow the money, the banks lend the money cheaply to people, okay? And this raises money to help people refinance their mortgages. Because when you refinance your mortgage, it costs money. It's not free. Okay, so if interest rates drop, you want to do a refinance that lowers your monthly payment. You with me? The higher interest rate, the higher your monthly payment. Okay, that's why today is a great time to buy a house, get a mortgage. Tomorrow it may not be as good as they raise interest rates. You with me? Okay. Then the National Housing Act creates the Federal Housing Administration, the FHA, which is still around today. The FHA is going to insure loans made by banks and mortgage companies or loan associations. So you understand this? So if you're a bank and you loan Zeke money for a house and Zeke can't pay his mortgage, who steps in and bails out the banks? The government does. Okay? This insures private groups to repair and refinance mortgages as well. So you do a refinance for somebody and they still can't pay their mortgage, the government's got your back. So would this encourage people to give out risky loans if they knew the government was going to bail them out?
Yes.
Yes, it would. Now, this will help people, you know, I mean, especially if you have a job and you can refinance and get your monthly payment down, then you're going to be able to stay in your house. Okay. For some, if you're unemployed, this is just a Band-Aid. It's not going to solve your problems. Okay. And then they're going to give a bunch of money to tear down these slums, these dumbbell houses, and build new ones. Like this. These become known as the projects. How many of you guys have heard that term before, the projects? Okay. Now, this is under the Wagner-Steagall Act, not to be confused with the Glass-Steagall Act that created the FDIC. The Wagner-Steagall Act is going to create the U.S. Housing Authority, which, yes, is still around today. They're going to make loans to cities and states to clear these slums and build new, low-cost housing. And by 1940, some 350 projects had been built. Now, this one in the background, guys, was built in 1939, Queens, New York. It's called Queensbridge. All right? One of the largest public housing developments in the nation at the time, in New York, has 3,142 apartments. Now, this has been condemned and torn down since this picture was taken, because it turned into a slum as well. Now, if you have 3,142 apartments in Queensbridge, okay, how many people on average would live in these apartments? 3, 4, 5, okay. So you're talking about roughly 10 to 12,000 people, yes? That all share what in common? They're poor. So we're taking the poorest amongst us and concentrating that poverty in a very small area. And the result is what? Gangs, drug abuse, crime.
They're condemning it, are they gonna put back up different styles?
Okay, so let's debate that, right? So this is where 10,000 people live. Are we going to displace these people, or are we going to build new projects and those people get to move back into the new one? The former. They will not build new projects here. Okay, so like I grew up in the South, so this is a little more indicative of what we saw in the South. We called them the quarters, not the projects. You guys seen that movie, Blind Side, Michael Orr story? Okay, the football player, the big Mike. No, never seen that?
What?
You never seen Blind Side?
They play it every single day on Freeform.
County. This is a wonderful movie. It's a great true story. Okay, but yeah, this kid grows up in the projects, so you kind of get to see what that's like, right? In that movie, it's a good example. Okay, now guys, I had friends in high school that lived in the projects. Okay, and in Florida, and this is not like a great place to raise your kids. You understand? There's a lot of crime. Okay, and as you move into the 80s and so forth, yeah, like Lily said, gangs. All right, and so it wasn't really a safe place to raise kids or a safe place to go, especially at night. Okay, but this is really damaging to the country. So famously in LA, they had the projects called Watts. In Chicago, Cabrini Green, high-rise projects. Okay, where everybody is poor. And you create a really bad culture there. Now, Georgia, Atlanta was really the first major city to move away from this. And so what they did in Atlanta was they tore down these big projects. And what the government started doing was buying up apartments in apartment complexes. So take over here at Eden Apartment Complex next to the practice football fields and softball field over there. You know what I'm talking about? Say there's 500 apartments in there, okay? The government buys up 50 of them, and they classify those as Section 8 housing. Okay, so what you're doing is you're spreading out your poverty. Okay, now if you look around Wichita today, we do have public housing that kind of looks like this, right, in different parts of the city. And Wichita did a pretty good job of spreading these projects out around the city, not putting them all in one spot. You follow me? So, like, where is the worst amount of crime in Wichita, for instance? Okay, we're kind of near Wichita State area over there. And then Oak Lawn area. I don't know if you guys know Oak Lawn area. There's quite a bit of crime down there. Okay, so there's certain things you can do as a city manager, okay, or a city council to try and disperse your poverty into different parts of the city, okay, which really does help reduce crime in your cities, okay? So Atlanta kind of led the way on this. And then other big cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, and so forth, started tearing down these big housing complexes. There's another good movie, I don't know if you've seen it. It's got Keanu Reeves in it. It's called Hardball. He's like a stockbroker type guy, and he gets in trouble, and like his sentence is to coach an inner city baseball team. Okay, so you got this, stockbroker guy with a bunch of little black kids, right? And some of the kids live in the housing projects, and one of them gets shot. And yeah, it's a good movie, Hardball. Well, we should watch it. Keanu Reeves. You guys know Keanu.
Is that the one? It's the one that
Matrix guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the one with the
Point
kid?
Break.
The one with the kid
John
that wears the
Wick.
headphones? The
Maybe.
picture kid that like wears the headphones.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Neo. Or Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Wow, that's. Oh, that's right. They did.
I haven't seen it. Okay, so that's a lesson learned here. Okay, so now we didn't learn it here. We learned it after these. Okay, we should have learned it here. Then we did this, and now we've kind of learned from it. If that makes sense. Yes. Okay. All right. How about the AAA? The Agricultural Adjustment Act creates the Agricultural Adjustment Administration. Now, guys, we got a lot of these terms that end in A. More often than not, that A is administration. Now, TVA is an authority, yes? But most of them are administration, okay? Now, this act creates the administration. Again, first 100 days, people. You with me? 1933. Now, this is to help with farmers. Remember, crop prices have been plummeting. We've got freaking really bad trade agreements with our friends, so we're not exporting as much food as we used to. So the idea here is to bring crop prices up so farmers can make a living. Now, one way of doing that is to reduce the amount of surplus food that you have. I know it's the Depression and people are hungry. We are producing an overabundance of food. We have more food than people can afford. So we need to cut the amount of food so the price will go up. That makes sense, right? Yeah. Okay, check this out. We are going to restrict production of wheat, corn, cotton, hogs, tobacco, and milk. Reduce the surpluses. Now, you tell a farmer, listen, I don't want you to plant your wheat crop this year. Farmer's going to be like, whoa, hey, hold on now. How am I going to make a living if you're not letting me grow my crops? So don't worry. We're going to send you a cash bonus for not planting your crops. Okay. Well, where's the money going to get this money to give to farmers? They're going to tax somebody else. They're going to tax manufacturers. So Henry Ford is manufacturing automobiles. They say, hey, Henry, we got to help the farmers. We're going to put a tax on you. Now, who's Henry going to pass that tax on to? The workers. Could affect his workers, but the consumers are going to have to pay for it, right? Your car is going to cost more money, which means Ford may sell fewer cars, yes? Which could affect his employees. But they're going to take this money from the manufacturers and they're going to give it to the farmers. Yeah. Those of you that have had government class and know a little bit about the Constitution, does this sound constitutional to you where you can tax one group of people specifically to give money to specifically another group of people? Doesn't really sound constitutional to me. In fact, this will be struck down as unconstitutional. As those of you that are working on your assignments that are due when? Tomorrow night or tonight? Tomorrow night. Module 19 homework questions. Of course. But you will learn about this crap in better detail. Right, Lily? Now, there's another problem. I'm a cotton farmer, and I've already planted my crop. And now the government comes and tells me I got to plow up my crop. Really? I got to plow up my crop? Oh, here's an even worse one. What about the pigs that have already been born? Because they want to reduce the number of hogs. Okay, so I've got a bunch of baby hogs, and they're going to grow up in the road time. The government's going to come in and say, hey, Mr. Pig Farmer, you need to kill your baby pigs so they don't grow up. Have you ever seen the movie Babe? Babe? With the little pigs? Ram you. So we've seen it? Yeah. That'll do, pig. That'll do. Nobody?
I feel like I have something.
Okay.
Not
Charlotte's Web. We could talk about Charlotte. Guys,
I never understood the plot of Charlotte's Web.
6 million baby pigs will be slaughtered. You kill them. Use them. Use them as fertilizer.
That's animals.
We can't let the pigs grow up. Because if pigs grow up, guys, that's a whole lot of product. Because we use the whole pig. Yes? You ever heard this phrase? Living high on the hog. Living high on the hog. Now, if you're living high on the hog, things are going well for you. Okay? The meat on the top of the hog is more expensive than the meat on the bottom of the hog. So what do we get from our pigs? Bacon? Pork chops? Okay, so pork butt? Come on.
Snap.
Pork products.
Pork rinds.
Pork rinds. That's skin. What about pig ears for dogs? Dog shoots, right?
Yeah.
You ever heard of pickled pig's feet?
Yeah.
Yeah. People will use the snout as well to cook with. Ton. Eyeballs. Just mash them up with whatever's left over, right? And that's what goes in your hot dogs or your sausage. What about the pig intestine?
That is
Casing.
also-
Casing for sausage, yeah. We use the whole pig. And, you know, I think I read something about a human getting a pig heart. That's a new thing.
That work?
You like slowly grows
He's
down.
doing
And a little tail. All right. Now, I had a student a few years ago whose grandparents had pigs, and the government made them kill them. Now, if you don't want to kill your own pigs, the government will come in and kill them for you. But you don't have a choice. Because we still pay farmers today not to plant crops. Okay? Now, like I said, a lot of this is going to be found unconstitutional. Now, the Secretary of Agriculture, Henry A. Wallace, says this is the only way that farmers can earn enough to live.
So did any of this contribute to all the wild hogs we have now?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that question. I don't know. Wild hogs, you find them mostly like in Texas and Florida. It's a good sport. Hunting hog. Dangerous sons of guns, right?
We used to go on a helicopter.
Yeah, go to helicopter, right? No, I went to college with some rednecks that hunted hogs.
You can go to Texas and fill a 5-gallon bucket with like nails and metal shrapnel and tannerite and shoot it and it blows up and kills a bunch of them all. They're all running fast. That's legal down in Texas.
Only in America.
Oh yeah, only in America. No, I mean, dude, I know the ones in Florida. Like these things, they'll kill you. I mean, you got to get in the tree pretty quick. You don't take them out. All right, let's going out this door, going out left down the stairs out the front of the school.
It stopped.
Hey, single file line, everyone.
Should I pause this? I'm just gonna let it run. We got a fire drill, so come back in like 5 minutes.
Like
Yeah, go to the right. Go to the right. What? All right, back in the room. We're back.
Please disregard.
disregard.
We're sorry for the small excitement there. There's no need to evacuate. False alarm. No need to evacuate. False alarm.
Did Lily just go? Like she got out of the building?
I think Andrew was right.
Barbara pulled it. Now, hey, look at this. Farm income rises rapidly. 240% in a 3-year period. Of course, giving people money. Okay? Now, farmers would never be independent again. Now, so if you talk to farmers that you know or people that farm, most farmers today get some form of subsidy from the government. Now, guys, this is huge business. So every 10 years, 5 to 10 years, Congress will pass what's called the Farm Bill. This is literally hundreds of billions of dollars every 5 to 10 years. Hundreds of billions of dollars. Okay, now generally, as somebody that tends to be pretty conservative, I do not like subsidies to big business. It's corporate welfare, okay, and I think it's crap. I don't think oil companies should be getting subsidies. If oil companies can't drill for oil, get oil out, and sell it for a profit, well, that's on them. We don't need to be subsidizing, in my opinion, okay? But with farmers, it's a catch-22. It stinks because if you have a really good crop, prices fall because there's so much supply. So it makes it hard to make a living. You have a really bad crop, prices go up, but you don't have very much to sell. Catch-22. So I think that, we're going to have to continue this relationship with farmers, our government, okay? Is there waste in there? I'm sure. Is there fraud in there? Of course there is, because that's just the way things work. You guys know how much fraud there was done with this COVID money that was sent out, these PPP loans and so forth. I mean, now it's starting to catch up to people. But, anytime you do something that big, a lot of money's going to go missing. Okay, and it's the way of government. Okay, now we're good on this. The A. How much time I got? All right.
So do we need to know the act or the administration?
Administration.
Okay.
Okay. Now, you ready? All right. Listen, I'm just going to introduce this, and then I'm going to stop. Okay. Because tomorrow we're watching a video. The next one is the NRA. Not National Rifle Administration. Association. This is the National Industrial Recovery Act, creating the National Recovery Administration. Yes. Yes, at some point. Straight out of Compton. All right, I'll give you time to write this down on Friday. Okay, but listen, tomorrow I am bolting like with 4 or 5 minutes left in 4th hour. I'm getting out of here. Okay, because I'm going to watch my son pitch in Shadoo. Okay, so I'm gonna, Lily, I'm gonna leave my computer in here with the video loaded, ready to go. I have no idea. It'll be a teacher. It'll be one of our teachers. Okay, so all you gotta do is press play. We're gonna watch the century 1929 to 1936, guys. You will be introduced to Adolf Hitler here. Okay. Yeah, I'll post it. Hey, listen. Come on. Now, this video is foreshadowing. We're not doing Hitler yet. Now, Roosevelt and Hitler both come to power in the same month of the same year, March of 1933. So it is interesting to watch the rise of these two great political powers, because Roosevelt was a great political power, and obviously Hitler was as well. Okay, and how they both addressed the depressions in their own country. Okay, as I've said to you before, guys, Germany will be out of the Depression by 1936. Okay, so it is interesting to look at, especially if you do it in an honest way. Now, this, either on Friday or Monday, we are going to read an article about this, the NRA, okay, which some historians refer to as fascism. Now, what you have with Hitler is fascism. This is government control, private ownership, but government control. So private industry, but the government directs it. Follow me? We will continue to have this. Now, this is going to be unconstitutional, guys. This is not going to stick around because the federal government does not have these powers under our Constitution, not even close. But it is fascism in a sense. So remember, fascism is not a dirty word in 1933, as it is today. Okay, so I'm not criticizing and calling Roosevelt a fascist. Okay, I'm not doing that. But fascism did work for Germany, as far as economically goes. Okay, and so people here were like, hey, can we get some of that over here? Give us some of that fascism, get us out of this depression. Okay, and so they tried it. And it didn't go well with our Constitution. Okay, so we'll read an article about that. It's really kind of thought-provoking and so forth. So this is kind of a big deal, but it doesn't last. Okay, good? Enjoy the video tomorrow. I will see you guys Friday, those of you that are here. Thursday. Wait, what's tomorrow? Yeah, we're doing this tomorrow. Thursday, I'm leaving to go see the game. And you won't be here. Who's gonna be here Thursday? Okay.
You asked who's not gonna be.
I'm gonna leave everything set up. Okay, you're not in charge. Gabby, you're gonna be in charge?
No, I'll be in charge.
I can be in charge,
No,
but
no,
yeah,
no,
I won't
no, no.
be here Wednesday.
We'll put the fast thing on the test.
I will video. We may read that article tomorrow. I can get you a copy. All right, we're ending this.
I tell you I won't be here next week either.